value yourself, put your rates up, because people, they will go out and get other quotes and they will be like going, this makes 0 sense. So try and do some research into what other designers are charging so that, like, you know, it won't be as much. Just don't make it so outrageously low that it's hard for every other interior designer in the industry who's working really, really hard.
Hi, I'm Beth Beesky, the founder of More Time to Design and your host of the Design Dialogues podcast. I've been a designer for the last 12 years and I've run my own studio for 5, and I know how hard it is to run a successful business. You not only need to be great at designing, but you need to be great at all the other things as well. I created More Time to Design, a software platform to help designers run efficient studios, and I've created the Design Dialogue podcast to help us all learn together. Each week, we will meet professionals who are at the top of their game doing things that help us run our studios. We'll have conversations with social media managers, interior design mentors, copywriters, stylists, photographers, suppliers, and also designers who have been in the game for a long time and who have such a wealth of knowledge to share. I hope that each week you feel inspired and informed at the end of each of our design dialogues. So join me for the Design Dialogue podcast. Welcome to episode 22 of the Design Dialogues podcast. This week I am talking with Catherine Heraghty from The Stables. I have known Catherine since we were both a bit younger and we're starting our business journeys. Catherine as a property stylist and myself as a florist. Catherine has gone on to build an impressive body of interior design work over the years with her beautiful aesthetic, which is instantly recognisable. In this episode, we talk about the early days of Instagram and the impact this had on Catherine's business. We also talk about how she manages a team that works remotely and how this works so well for her and her team. We also touch on how the changes in building since COVID and how she navigates this with her clients. One of the other things we talk about is her working relationship with Nat from the Palm Co. and how this is so important to the way she captures her project. We have Nat on the podcast next week, so we get to hear the photographer's perspective on this as well. I really enjoyed this dialogue with Catherine. She is so down to earth and as a busy working mum of 2, shows that you can build a very successful design studio in a way that works with lots going on in life. As always, if you are enjoying the podcast, I would love for you to leave a review. Reviews are one of the best ways for people to find the podcast. If you are unsure of how to leave a review, I will put in the show notes some simple instructions to follow. I really do appreciate you taking the time to leave a review. Now, I hope you enjoy my dialogue with Catherine. Hi everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Design Dialogues podcast. And today I am joined by Catherine Heraghty from The Stables. How are you, Catherine?
Good. How are you?
Good. Now, I have known Catherine for a very, very long time when we both were doing, I suppose, both at the start of our careers, doing quite different things to what we're doing now.
Mm-hmm.
I was a florist and Catherine was property styling. So I'm really looking forward to our chat today because I think, I kind of know a bit about your business kind of from the sidelines and like watching you grow, but it'll be great to kind of learn a bit more about it. But I do love to start every conversation by finding out, what can you see out your window today?
What can I see out my window today? The blue sky, trees. I'm actually sitting in my bedroom on my bed because that's the only place I can do Zoom meetings. And so from my bedroom, I actually have quite a nice view of my son's school and all the trees in his schoolyard. And it's a nice day. So, it's all nice light and all that sort of stuff. So,
What a nice outlook. And I love that you do your Zoom meetings from bed. It's perfect.
I know, me too. I'd hide it from people, but I think the pillows in the background give it away. So
could be a sofa, like you. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about your business. So you have the design firm, The Stables, and how have you gotten to where you are today?
Okay, so The Stables is a Sydney-based interior design studio. It's my business, and then I always forget this because so many of the girls that work for me come and go from maternity leave, but I think we're a team of, this sounds terrible, team of 6 or 5. I can't, that sounds so terrible. One or the other. And yeah, I'm based in south of Sydney. We don't have an office. We all work remotely. So I've got one of the girls that used to work for me actually relocated back to New Zealand, and she still works for me over in New Zealand. And then I've got Lucy, my oldest employee. I've had her for over 10 years now. She's in Newcastle, and then the rest are in Sydney. We do residential interior design, so we don't really ever venture into commercial. It's just never, ever been of interest to me. Yeah. We do jobs all over Sydney and actually all over Australia. We've got a job in Byron at the moment. We've got a few in the Gold Coast. We've got some down in Kiama, Vincentia, so down the South Coast. Yeah. And then we've actually we did a Zoom meeting earlier this week with some builders in Darwin randomly. Oh, wow. And they want us to put all the finished selections together for their, I think, 3 or 4 houses that they're building in Darwin. So that was a bit random, but yeah. We don't we don't just solely focus on Sydney. It's exhausting, having to travel, because it's me that has to hop on a plane and go up to the job site in Byron Bay or whatever for a day. So we'll only take on a project, if it's worthwhile and if it's beautiful and enticing enough to do it. And how did I get here? Oh, so yeah, residential design, everything interiors. That's what we do. So bathroom design, kitchen design, finished selections. Anything that you want to build or renovate inside a house, that's what we do. Yeah. How did I get here? I think we've had the stables for about 6 years now. I started the stables, but prior to that, I had another business that I started up called Bowerbird Interiors. Yeah. And that's where I first met you. Yeah. I started that when I finished at the Enmore Design Centre. Mm-hmm. We had to have like an end of year major project, and we had to essentially develop our own business idea and concept, and that was Bowerbird Interiors. And then once I graduated over the summer break, I actually borrowed $10,000 and bought my first lot of furniture and stored it in my garage in my rental down in Cronulla. Yeah. And I styled my first property, and I had that for about 10 years or so. I took on business partners because I was starting to have a family. That didn't really work out, and then I got out of that. And then I had a bit of a break for maybe, 2 months or something. And then, I don't know, like the stables, it just kind of happened. Like there was no clear, I was never set on a path to go, all right, now I'm going to start a new business and I'm going to, it's going to be an interior design company. Like, I think I was so burnt out from property styling. Yeah. And I was so traumatized by that industry because it's chaos. And I was so traumatized from the business breakup. Yeah. I just sort of started thinking what made me feel good. And, interiors is obviously a passion of mine. And I just started taking photos at home in my little studio. Yeah. I didn't even know how to use Instagram. Yeah. I had to ask people how to post a photo. I had no idea. And I kind of just taught myself. And that was back before the whole, what do they call it? What's that formula thing called that everyone hates? The algorithm. Oh, yeah. That was way, way, way before the algorithm. And so it wasn't easy, but much, much, much easier than it is now to grow your following. Yeah. And so I think I grew to 100,000 followers in like 12 months. Yeah. And these days I don't even grow 1,000 a year. Yeah. Like, it's crazy how much it's changed. But I'd post photos of me styling a bed or doing something, and then next minute people would go, oh, can you come and do this at my house? And I'd be like, yeah, okay. And so that's just how it happened. It kind of was like an accidental kind of thing. And then next minute I got some more staff on board, and yeah, it just grew. And it was just a natural evolution. And probably a year or so into it, I knew that I wanted to I wanted to do bigger projects. Yeah. Bigger budgets, I wanted to push myself, challenge myself. So yeah, that's how we landed where we are today.
Yeah, awesome. Just kind of to touch on the Instagram part, because I remember kind of looking like, as I said, like we've known each other for ages. And I always was like, wow, you are just blowing up on Instagram. And it was very different back then. I think like that landscape has changed so much.
Mm-hmm.
How much do you credit that to the early success of your business?
Huge.
Yeah.
I think it was because of Instagram
Yeah.
that I became as well known as I am. And I don't want to sound like, excuse my language, like, an idiot or a wanker kind of thing. Like I'm not, but, people do know of me, and that is purely because of Instagram. And so, yeah, the early success, people see you on Instagram, brands reach out to you. And that back then as well, that's probably another thing. That was when, brands were really seeing the opportunity in social media.
Yeah.
And so they were reaching out to people, influencers, who they wanted to partner up with. And, that was when I would take on a lot of partnerships, and that just became way bigger than I wanted it to be.
Yeah.
I'm glad that I did it. I now know what it's like. I now know that I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
And so I rarely do it these days. I might do one collaboration a year with if it's a big brand and they're paying good money and it makes sense to my brand, I'll do it. But, first and foremost, I'm, an interior designer. I'm not an influencer. But yes, I absolutely attribute my early success to Instagram, because it just it increased my people's awareness of my style, I guess.
Yeah. It's really interesting. I was having a conversation with a group of designers recently about how that landscape has really changed and how
I feel sorry. Like it would be so much harder now. Like I almost feel guilty. Like it was literally just luck. Like how lucky am I that at the time that I, fell out of, business with one, bunch of people, and then was looking to start something else, and I just stumbled across this thing that people were talking about and started doing it. And then I was able to grow it at that exact time. Like there will never be that again, I don't think. And it was just luck, sheer luck.
Yeah, because and it was like, it is so hard. As you said, like you're lucky if you can get like 1,000 followers. Like it's just so hard. And like it has changed now where someone said the other day, like you're almost silly if you think that Mark Zuckerberg is running a charity. Like, of course you have to pay to get reach. Like it's a pay to play platform now. And for newer designers, it's kind of like, well, where do you talk to your potential clients now? Because social media is such an integral part of how we run our businesses. So it is such an interesting shift
I just think
in the landscape.
Like I've gone, like probably over the last 2 years or so, I'm like, I've really fallen out of love with social media. And I think a lot of people have. It's essential to have there so that it's a resource that you can say, because people will still go searching, and then they will want to, look. And, if you're sussing out whether you want to work with that particular company, you will go to the Instagram page. So you kind of need to have it. It's like, a secondary website, so to speak. But I, stopped really, I was dedicated. The first few years of Instagram, I was dedicated to posting every single day, and the pressure to come up with content was just immense. But a few years ago, I was like, you know what? I'm so over this. I have enough work. I really don't like, there are elements of social media I really dislike. And so I was like, I'm just going to do what suits me and my life. And so now, I might post once a month or once every few weeks. Sometimes I'll post twice in 2 days, but there's no rhyme or reason. It's always me posting it. I've never paid anyone else to do my posts. And I like the organic nature of it now. I'm not succumbing to anyone's pressure, by having, doing it all. I just do what feels right for me. And I feel like I'm relying more now on my body of work and the runs that I've got on the board, the experience that I've got behind me. And I feel like word of mouth is really strong, and that's probably what I rely on. Like, where else do you advertise? You're not going to go advertise in a magazine. You're not going to, I'm not going to advertise really, I don't think, online. I wouldn't even know where to look. You don't advertise in your newspaper. Like, where else do you advertise really? I know that might even be a stupid question, but
no,
I just think for me, it just makes sense that it's word of mouth.
Yeah. And I think, and this is so hard because it's like, well, how do you get word of mouth if you're starting out and all that kind of stuff? But I also think that word of mouth, like, I think when I don't know where an inquiry has come from, like how they've heard of me, it's a little bit of a red flag because I'm like, oh, are you going to be the right kind of fit for me and all that kind of stuff? So I kind of think if you can build your business to the point where the majority of your work is word of mouth referrals, that's a really sweet spot to be sitting in, kind of thing.
Yeah, I definitely get that. And there are, when we're interviewing potential new clients, I guess that's a nice way of putting it. We're always looking out for red flags because there needs to be a synergy.
Yeah.
I always say to people, we're about to jump to new clients. I always say, it's like we're about to jump into a marriage for the next year or two, because I'm working so closely and so intimately with you. We really need to like each other.
This is something that, like, from that I'd actually really like to talk to you about. It's a bit different. So your, as you said, your Instagram is very much like a second website. It's a real kind of portfolio for you, really.
Mm-hmm.
And you've worked very closely with Nat from the Palms, who's done a lot of, does she do all of your project photography or most of it, kind of thing?
No, she's done all of it. Like, if I'm, before, like, I've worked with Adair's, for example, and they'll have their own photographer, or, like realestate.com, they'll have their own photographer or whatever. But yeah, if it's my project, we just use Nat.
Yeah. How have you found that in terms of that, building that working relationship? You guys have obviously worked together for many, many years now, and her aesthetic ties in so beautifully with your aesthetic. Mm-hmm. How have you found that's really, like, how important is that project photography to you? And also how important is it having that working relationship with Nat?
The working relationship is so important because it's like, she knows what I want. She knows me now well enough to know what kind of shots I want. She knows that I only like my landscapes and I don't, my portraits. I don't like my landscapes because, I want them all for Instagram. And she knows how I like my bed shot. And, so there's so much trust, and there's so much stuff that we don't have to speak about. I essentially don't even need to be there. I'm there because I would feel very guilty if I wasn't there helping her. But, there are times, there has been times when I have been sick on the day of a shoot and I'm like, I can't go. And she goes, and I just know that everything is completely, because she's the most beautiful stylist as well. Yeah. So yes, there's a lot to be said for that. But I think the biggest thing that I wouldn't do it any other way, but I hear people time and time and time and time again say to me, oh my goodness, your Instagram feed is so, consistent.
Yeah.
And that's because of the photography. Yeah. Photographers are like designers, they have different styles and aesthetics, different editing techniques, different lighting. And I could not imagine using another photographer now, because it would give me an eye twitch seeing my Instagram feed look a little bit different and jarring. Yeah. And so there's something really visually pleasing when someone jumps on there and they're like, oh, wow, like, it's really impressive, and that, it's an investment. It's not, a cheap exercise to shoot as many projects as we do with a photographer, as experienced as Nat. But that's the way we win our work. Yeah. If people need to see that, and once I've got that, like, that's, they meet us and they really like, our vibe, but they see what we have done, and that the proof is in the pudding if they can see it. So I would, shoot people's work. Like, when people, we're talking about now, like Instagram, this is kind of going back a step. We're talking about, designers these days, they don't have, the opportunity to, like, grow their Instagram account like we once could. It's still the same kind of techniques, though, still apply, in that, I'd always recommend to people, and I used to do this, take on, your mum's best friend's job and do it for free. You've got to get the experience. You've got to learn what it's like, you've got to open up accounts with suppliers. You've got to get tradesmen and build relationships with them. And, you need to get experience in yourself, because so many designers lack confidence in it, like, oh, I can't charge because I don't know what I'm doing and I've never done it before and all that sort of stuff. But it's like doing the stuff for free. Like, that's the hard yards that I've done. I've been doing this for over 16 years now. And yeah, at the beginning, I was doing jobs for free. You're not going to just walk straight in there and earn a bunch of money. It has taken so much time and so many jobs where I haven't made any money or I've gone backwards. So I think, and then you've got a body of work to shoot, whether it's yourself shooting it on your phone or whether you can, justify the cost of a professional photographer. But I think that is the most obvious way still for people to get stuff and have content to be able to post, so that when people are finding out about them, they can then go back to their Instagram account and go, oh, these people have done something.
Yeah. And is it in your contract? So do you photograph every project?
Yes. Oh, no. I reckon probably, and this sounds really like, I reckon 40%.
Okay. And do you have is it a discussion that you have up front when the client's signing that you want to photograph it? Or is it more of a, let's see how this pans out, and as we're getting closer to it, you decide?
There's a few things. It can be, we won't shoot a job if it feels too repetitious. So there's no point in us investing money in photography of a job that feels very similar to another job that we've shot. We want fresh and new content. So, and a lot of people come to us going, I want that kitchen or I want that bathroom. And that's really lovely, but I don't really want to pay to shoot it, if I'm honest. In terms of, most clients are really comfortable with us shooting a project. And I think there's just this like unspoken kind of thing that if you come to me, I don't know, people think that I'm some Instagram big person and, it's a necessity. If people don't want us to shoot it, of course we would respect that. But I've never actually had anyone say to me, no, you're not going to be able to shoot this. I've had one client in 16 years say to me, if people are going to be using our photography, can you please let us know what magazine is going in? And that's, of course, that's like, the bare basic kind of thing. Some clients are like, can you please disguise the address or, those kind of details. We are, however, I had a conversation with our solicitor 2 weeks ago, actually, about getting a contract put together just to try and protect like the client and ourselves from the client, and try and protect client, like just make sure that everyone's protected in terms of, okay, if there is photography, what happens to it, where does it go, whose rights, who has what rights, that kind of thing. So it's just, we're in the very early stages of that. But I think once you start dealing with projects of a serious, like, with serious budgets and there are privacy concerns and whatever, I think that was the smart next step for us.
Yeah, definitely. That's awesome. So you touched on this briefly just before, but you are known for you've got a very unique aesthetic. Like, it's very, like, you can kind of open a magazine, or as you said, you Instagram and you go, oh yeah, that's Catherine's work. And obviously that is a little bit of a double-edged sword, because people come to you because they want that look. How do you keep it looking fresh and new, and not like that you're just doing the same kitchen every time?
How do we do that? I guess, being a true creative, you're always just trying to, it gets really boring just doing the same thing over and over again. It really does. It truly, truly does. If it feels boring, like, we kind of like lose our steam, and we're like, like, we want to be excited by it, and we want to be challenged. So I think it's just, we're always, within the team, we're always sharing stuff and being like, oh, did you see that? And how beautiful is that stone? And oh my goodness, look how they've laid those tiles. Like, we're always looking, we're always sharing, and we're just genuinely, purely excited. And, we'll be in a new client meeting and we'll be taking a brief, and something will come up with a client, and then, one of us will go, oh my God, that thing we saw the other day, that would be perfect here. And, I think it's just the passion, really, like how to keep it fresh. in terms of our look, yep, I definitely think that we have a really strong aesthetic. We are lucky because it seems to appeal to a lot of people, but we can't be everything to everyone.
Yeah.
And that's the same with any designer. But having said that, though, there's nothing that we can't do in terms of a design. Like, that's what an interior designer is. You're working with a client and their brief, and you translate it into a style. So it doesn't have to be like, coastal and, Hamptons or, contemporary Australian. We've had some clients that they contact us, and the style and the brief that we've done, and we would, we haven't shot it, but we're like, oh my God, like, why did they call us? That just doesn't, like, have you seen our website? Do you know what we do? But we do it.
Yeah.
And so, there's nothing that we can't do, but, this is where we do what we love. And so we stay sort of authentic to that. And, we can't be everything to everyone. So we just sit in a style that is comfortable for us and we feel really good in, and that just happens to be our style. So yeah.
And you mentioned so one of your recent projects, your Annandale project, is quite different in that it's dark and it's a lot more moody than I would say your normal kind of beautiful light coastal.
Yeah.
How did that go? Like, was that client directed? Was that very much client directed?
And some of the best projects I've found is when the client pushes you out of your comfort zone and they've come to you with a strong brief, or they have a really strong style, and they've come to you because they've seen images and stuff of your work, or a builder has recommended you, and they're like, yep, okay, we want to work with you, but this is the kind of thing we're liking, and it doesn't naturally sit within our realm. And we have had to push ourselves. And has it felt uncomfortable? It hasn't felt uncomfortable. It's probably felt exciting, but a bit nerve-wracking, because you never know when you're, specifying an emerald green, color for the joinery for an entire bathroom, or doing a navy bathroom that looks so dark it's almost black. That's so far removed from anything we've ever done. So the stress of that, at nighttime, going, oh my God, is this going to come together? And then it does. It's, it's so exciting, but it's client driven.
Yeah.
We never go one day, oh, you know what? We've never done a green bathroom. I really want to do, it's the clients, we're thankful for that. It's an opportunity that the client's given us, and they've pushed us. And if you have some resistance, you would never tell a client that you're resisting it, but you're like, oh, this doesn't feel, just normal and easy. It does feel a bit uncomfortable, but that's honestly where your best work happens, in my opinion.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. It's, I was like, wow, that's different.
I know. And it is. And that's so, like, the first day that we met that beautiful client, like, we're actually going to be working on, they've got a holiday house down the south coast, and I dare say we'll end up doing her work down there. But when you meet this beautiful client, she's got, she had, like, I think on the first day she had like a purple blazer on, and she had bright red earrings, and just like the way that she was put together, like all of her clothes and her outfit and her wardrobe, it'd be me, like, I'd be wearing like beige and gray and all these neutrals, and she's just all color. And it's like her personality, it should have been like so obvious from the second I met her that that's what her interior was going to be like. So yes, it definitely was different for us, but I'm so proud of that project, just to show people that we can do something different as well, but it still has a stable style.
Absolutely.
It still has a stable aesthetic.
No, I think that's so true. And sometimes as well, you meet a client and you're like, I just want to work with you. Like, I will, like, you can just tell it's going to be a really great project and 100%. A great kind of working relationship. So you kind of go, I want to work with you.
100%. There are times when you just walk out of a new client meeting, you're like, oh, I really hope I get that job because they're so lovely. I really like them. And then, other clients, you work with them, but there's not that really strong synergy, but you get there and you get the job done, and then of course there are other clients that make life, hard work, but again, you're there to do a job, so you get it done.
For sure. So you've been in business for a long time, like, across the couple of businesses that you've had. And you currently have a team of 5 or 6, give or take.
Anna, Lucy, Sarah, Tess, and myself. 6. 6, yes.
And you also all work remotely, which I find quite fascinating.
Yeah.
How have you found the right balance of size and like size of team and project load, but also feeling that you're not just managing people and that you're actually still being creative?
God, okay. Let's break that down. First thing is, what was the first part of the question?
So about kind of like growing the team and finding that right balance of project load and team size.
So growing the team has been an evolution. It's just been like a natural process. Like we're getting busier and we really need to have, a full-time drafts person. So then that role was created. We really need to have someone to support me. So that role was created. We really needed to have someone that was just going to look after the styling. And then, then my team of girls would go, one would fall pregnant and go on maternity leave. And so we needed someone to replace them. And then I was like, okay, but the goal is when the girl from maternity leave comes back, I want to keep you all because I love you all so much. So we just need to take on more work.
Yeah.
And now it wasn't, I guess, planned. It's just this natural progression where it's like we can only take on so much work. And people, when we say no a lot. So when people do come to us, and if we don't have the capacity to take on another big job, we'll say, we can take you on, but we won't be able to start it for 6 weeks. Or, there were times in COVID when we were so crazy busy. We'd say to people, our lead time is 6 months. We can't see you for 6 months. But now, we've signed up 2 clients in the last week. And, we'll start them in the next few weeks. It's just kind of like you just get a feel for it. There is no science behind it. It's just kind of common sense going, if we sign up everyone, it's great to get all that money in, but you've got to be able to deliver. And it's also me, I'm traveling from job site to job site to job site, meeting with trades and whatever. There's only so many job sites I can go to. So there are times, but then if it's a really good job and you're like, oh God, I don't want to say no to that, you would be like, we will just make it happen. I will move heaven and earth to make it happen. And if there's a job that you just like, we probably don't need another little job like that right now because we've got some really big, beautiful jobs we need to concentrate on. So it's just kind of like looking, I guess, at the projects that you've got and working out who's kind of going to be working on that. I think it's just common sense. It's just really common sense. And it's been a natural evolution and it wasn't planned.
Yeah. And do you run, so like if you're kind of like with your capacity with projects, do you run like a formal wait list as such? Like do you sign them up but say, look, we can't start you for 6-7 weeks or so? Or is it a bit more kind of like if it's a longer wait, say up to 6 months, are you kind of like come back and see us in 6 months? Or are you signing them up but they know they're not going to get you for 6 months?
No, we wouldn't take on anyone. I would feel guilty sort of signing someone up and then saying, but wait 6 months. People are like if I'm telling someone to wait 6 months, there's a really good chance they're going to go find someone else.
Yeah.
Because, they've got a life too. And I understand that they want to get their house done so that they can move in and be settled for Christmas, but if they do wait and they come back, that's great. But I dare say that what we do, I guess, around this area, I know that we probably won't take on too many more big new projects before the end of the year. But I sort of say to clients, look, if you do want to sign up, we've got, maybe 1 or 2 spots left. I won't be able to start you for, 5 or 6 weeks, but to engage us, you need to pay a deposit and then we're committed to you. And that secures your spot with us. And then we'll be ready to kick off, late this year and keep on going early in the new year. So I guess, probably I'd make clients wait no more than sort of 6 or 7 weeks at the most. At the most. I just feel too bad.
Yeah.
Too guilty. But I think that one thing, because people always go, how many jobs do you have at any given time? And we honestly do have around about 25 to 30 clients at any given time. And people go, oh my God, but it's like they're all at different stages. They're at different sizes. If they were all gigantic projects all the same size, it would never work. It would be so overwhelming, and we just let our clients down left, right and center. But some are small styling jobs, some are large styling jobs, some are a kitchen and bathroom renovation, and some are a $4 million build.
Yeah.
So they're all different sizes and then different stages. Some are at the brief stage, some are we're waiting for furniture to arrive, some we're at the DA, we're waiting for it to come out of council, some are mid-construction, some at the end of construction. And that also helps to manage your cash flow.
Yeah.
Because you're taking new clients on, you're getting progress payments and then payments upon completion. You have to have that many jobs at different stages so that you've always got money coming in so that you can pay your staff.
Yeah.
So it's a cash flow thing. I know 25 to 30 sounds like a lot, but if it was any less, it probably wouldn't work. I wouldn't be able to have the girls that work for me.
Yeah. And how do you, so obviously with them all working remotely, it works really well for them. Like you've got, some all, like you've got New Zealand and Newcastle. How do you make that work? Like,
so it's like we're all remote, but we see each other probably like Lucy up in Newcastle, I might only see every few weeks. She's on maternity leave at the moment. And obviously I don't see she's in New Zealand. But the other set, there's 2 Sarahs and Tess in Sydney. I probably see them once a week.
Yeah.
And it would be whether, we're meeting with a client together, or we're meeting in a showroom together. We talk 1,000 times a day. We're constantly on email all day with each other, in WhatsApp together, on the phone. Pretty much from like 7 in the morning, it feels like, up until 11 o'clock at nighttime. Sometimes we're still talking, because one thing that I'm a mother of 2, and everyone except for Tess has babies as well. And so I've really built this business to be flexible. So and I say to the girls, I really don't care if you want to get up and go to Pilates and then come home and work, or I don't care if you've got a doctor's appointment or a dentist appointment, or if you're going to have the afternoon off and you're going to work tonight. As long as you get your work done, that's fine. And so there's this massive level of trust. I trust the girls implicitly. And so they do the right thing by me. And then they love the level of freedom and flexibility that I give them. And so then they work hard for me in return. So it is a fantastic, it's a fantastic culture. We're all like, I've already been to Pilates this morning. I've dropped my kids off. I'm here now. I'm sitting in my bed working. I just spoke to Tess, who's my drafts person before. She's at home in her bedroom, on CAD, and she's showing me plans. And I know the 2 Sarahs are at home now, emailing away. So it just kind of works. We see each other. There's heaps of communication. There's a level of trust, and there's a massive amount of flexibility.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
So it makes for a happy workplace for a bunch of females who love what we do, and we're all mothers, and being a mum is just as important as working, and working is just as important as being a mum.
Yeah. Wow. Sounds like a really beautiful culture and business that you've grown, because I think it's not necessarily the most family friendly industry. And so I think having.
Why do you think that it's not the most family friendly? Why would you say that?
I think in bigger design firms, I think concept of flexibility and
agreed.
A working mum is just, it just doesn't work.
And so the other day, 2 days ago, for example, the client wanted to meet the builder, myself and one of the tradesmen on site, and she was like, can anyone come at 7? I was like, oh, I've got school drop off. I won't be able to get there until after school drop off. And I was like, I can come at 8:45, but I'll have to bring Huey, my 4-year-old, along with me. Is that okay? And she's like, yeah, fine, bring him.
Yeah.
And so, he came and just watched Peppa Pig in the background while we all sat there, meeting. And so my clients are all very aware that I have children. And there are times that, I've taken my kids to a job site and I'm like, stay there, don't move, don't touch anything. But yeah, I just think these days there's a lot more, especially after COVID, I think has broken down some of the, I don't know, what people thought was the right thing or the acceptable thing to do. I would agree with you though, with the larger firms, much harder to do. Yeah. But yeah, I'm not going to hide the fact that I'm a mum and I've got kids, and sorry, if I have to sign off at 2:30 in the afternoon to go get my kids, I'm going to do it. But don't worry, I'm back online at 8 o'clock at night. Yeah. But that's what I choose to do because I want the afternoon with my children. That's my choice.
Exactly. And I think that's the thing. I think so many women leave kind of the more corporate or bigger firms when they have kids because they realize it's just not really going to work. And they start their own business with small kids and all that kind of stuff. And so I think it's great to hear of businesses that are making it work and that they are flexible. And I think as well, like, I think that communication with clients, like, I know sometimes it's like, well, I don't want to be defined by the fact that I'm a mum, but then I'm also very much like you, I'm like, I have to stop at 2:30 today, but like, you know, whatever. Or can you do a call at 6:30 at night rather than during the day? Because that's actually works better for me, and all that kind of stuff. So I think communication with clients sometimes is just as important as.
And I think I probably like break the ice as well, like with clients, like in our first meeting, I'll start bringing up, you know, like I'm a very chatty kind of person.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you know, my kids do that, and oh, you know, hugs with you, and da da da. And so they know straight up that I'm identifying as a mum and I'm not hiding it. Like my business and my life are very like crossed over and merged, and there's like, you know, not gray areas, but it's all one whole life.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So I think clients get a clear understanding of that, you know, right from the get-go, but no one has ever had an issue with it. Everyone is always so accepting and supportive of it.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever had an issue.
And I think ultimately,
mentality.
Yeah, I think ultimately, like, you know, I mean, I've done so many calls from like the side of a swimming lesson or something like that. And I think if the client has a problem with it, then they're not the right client for you.
100% agree with that. And, you know, like a builder will call me, you know, he'll have a question and I'll be like, sorry, I've got the kids in the background, or I'm at swimming lessons, for example, or something. And they're like, yeah, that's fine. But then I think the more you do it, the more it normalizes it. And then the builder might also then call you from swimming lessons because he too has to go do swimming lessons at afternoon.
Exactly.
And so the more you do it, the more everyone's kind of like, oh, it's not that big a deal, because it's really not. We all have children.
Yeah, exactly.
We're all human.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So you've been in the industry for ages. What are some of the challenges that you see coming up in the design industry or that we're facing at the moment?
I don't know necessarily whether I'd say, well, it would filter back to the design industry very much, but I would say the cost of building has been something that I'm really seeing affect my clients this year. You know, I've got these lovely clients and, you know, we've got all these hopes and aspirations of doing, you know, all of this work, and then it goes and gets quoted, and there's this huge disparity between what a client thinks something is going to cost and what it actually ends up costing. So if someone thinks it's going to cost $100,000 and it will come in at $300,000, or if someone thinks it's going to cost $2 million and it comes in at $3.2 million, you know, for example. And so I think post-COVID, all the material cost increase, labor increases, you know, interest rates, like everything has really hit the building industry hard. And I think it had at the beginning of the year, when the interest rate thing was really, you know, in the media every day, you know, our level of inquiries really kind of trickled off. But people have come back now, and I think that they know what the sort of like the financial environment is, and so they're kind of like, okay, I know what I can and can't do. But then so they're willing to jump in and do it, but I'm finding that the cost of building is being prohibitive. And so not everyone is able to proceed with what they want. So I'd say that that's a big impact for us at the moment.
And has that changed at all the way, like, have you at all started to maybe start the discussion with builders a bit earlier in the process? Yeah.
And that's what I've been doing the last few months. I had a meeting yesterday, a new client, one of the new clients that I signed up this week. They hadn't even engaged us yet. And I took my lovely builder to site yesterday to talk high-level costings, walk through the job, so that everyone was on the same page. And if the client was still keen at the end of that, then they signed me up, and then, you know, we go down the quoting path with the builder. And it was all happy days at the end of that meeting, because I hate spinning anyone's wheels. It can take, you know, I work with probably three main builders. It can take the builders like, you know, 4 to 6 weeks to put together a huge quote. And that's so much work and money and then it comes in, way up here, and the clients are expecting it to be way down here.
Yeah.
And it's just heartbreaking to see that the client's expectations are not met. The builder has put in all of this energy and effort. So I'm trying to preempt it all. I'm having this exact conversation with people saying that, what you anticipate you're going to get with your money, you're not going to get with your money. It's going to cost a whole lot more. Yeah. And so I'm kind of trying to manage everyone's expectations really early on these days.
And I'd say, I mean, I definitely know, like, I've started like bringing a bit like a high level kind of discussion, kind of, because I think it just makes for a much better project overall. Like, either they don't go ahead, or they just, I mean, there's nothing worse than they've fallen in love with this beautiful design and then they can't build it, and like they're just, no one's happy.
No one's happy. No.
And so I think having, a more educated discussion at the very beginning of the process just means that it's a better project all around, and no one's wasting their time.
No one's wasting their time. And it can also be that if they know more about budget to begin with, then it can be like, okay, well, we can't afford this, so maybe we'll either break it up into stages, or we'll work out what our true priorities are.
Yeah.
Or we will find the money. And, because there are certain clients who can increase their, borrowing capacity, or they can, I've had clients, sell a property to be able to invest and whatever. So it depends on what they want to do, but you kind of putting the ball in their court so that they've got the power to do what they want before we've all spun our wheels.
Yeah. It's definitely something that I think, I think the prices, I don't think they're never really going to come down. I don't think they're going
to come down. I think they're going to stop going up as sharply as what they were. But I think there will be, over the next few years, there will be the gap between what clients' expectations are and what things actually cost will come together more. At the moment, there is a huge gap between it, because what people could do with $500,000 pre-COVID and what they can now do, like, you blink and $500,000 is gone.
I know.
Like, people have, like a joinery package. It's so easy for it to be a $200,000 joinery package these days.
Yeah.
More often it's $250,000, $350,000, and people are like, that's just the joinery. And I'm like, yeah. And then their whole budget is $300,000, for example.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to take a while, but I guess it's our job as designers to try and educate people.
Yeah. And look, we've touched on so many things throughout the conversation, but for new designers starting out, maybe people who have been in the industry for ages and they're going to take the jump to start their own practice, or people who have just finishing design school, what is some advice that you would give those people?
God, what would I give? What advice? Holy moly. So much. I think what I see people doing right at the beginning is doubting themselves. I think it's rife in our industry when people are stepping into it, the doubt and insecurity that people have around their skill set. And I try and tell people that clients are coming to you because they actually have no idea.
Yeah.
You've got the natural talent, you've got the ability, you've trained or you've studied or whatever you've done, whatever your background is. So they're coming to you because you have the skill set that they don't have.
Yeah.
So I know you might be feeling scared and intimidated by the whole process, but try and fake it and be confident, because they don't know that you don't know. They think you know.
Yeah.
And you do know, but you're just doubting yourself.
Yeah.
So I just think it's like, don't be insecure. Just have confidence in your ability, because I can guarantee you know more than what the client knows.
Yeah.
And then also undercharging. It really, it's like a sore point for me.
Yeah.
I really want people to not go out there and be charging $25 an hour.
Yeah.
It's not good for our industry.
Yeah.
Because they'll come to me and get a quote, and then they'll go to you and get a quote, and they'll be like, why is this so different? And which has happened in the past. And I think you need to value yourself, put your rates up, because people, they will go out and get other quotes and they will be like going, this makes 0 sense. So try and do some research into what other designers are charging. so that, like, it won't be as much.
Yeah.
Just don't make it so outrageously low that it's hard for every other interior designer in the industry who's working really, really hard.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then by putting your prices up as well, it makes it easier for the next lot of designers who are coming into the industry under them.
Yeah. That is very, very good advice. So tell me, what are you looking forward to in the next 12 months in your business?
What are we looking forward to? Just bigger projects, bigger budgets, doing things differently in terms of like our finishes, and probably like just exploring different suppliers, different finishes, instead of, it can be, because we do so many projects, it can get repetitious.
Yeah.
And so we are, always looking for, new ways of doing things. I don't think, nothing within our team will change. I think a long-term goal would be to have an interior architect on board.
Yeah.
So that we're not relying on, an architect so much, like an external architect. I think that would be a dream of mine. But yeah, just bigger projects that are more challenging for us and more satisfying, I think. And that's just, because our work is so slow moving, every job takes, 12 months to 2 years or whatever, that's a long process to build. But that's where we're always heading, just bigger and better, I guess. But boutique size, I'm never going to have 15 staff. I'm not interested in that. I really like what we have now. Yeah.
So I'll look out for more green laundries and bathrooms.
Yeah, maybe. In terms of style, I'm happy with our style. Like I never try and force it and push it. It just kind of like, it's like a natural, whatever feels right for us. That's what we do.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So how can our community reach out to you and find out more about what you do?
Instagram. I get so many messages, like DMs on Instagram. I just can't answer them all. So I think if people want to speak to me directly, I say just drop an email. But all of our contact details are on our website. Yeah. All of our projects are on our website as well, and we have everything also on Pinterest as well. But yeah, they're the three main ways. But yeah, Instagram, I think. And sometimes, there will be times when I can answer questions and stuff. So, comment and say, hey, I've already asked this and you haven't answered. And then I'll be like, okay, I'll answer it. But yeah,
because, well, as you said, they know they're getting you because you don't have.
It's definitely me. It's 100% me. It's just whether I've got, a child hanging off me, wanting food and snacks, or whether I'm, on site with a builder. There's a lot in my life, and it's hard to sit down and message people.
Thank you so much, Catherine. This has been great.
Right. Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. Talk soon.
Bye.
I hope you enjoyed this dialogue with Catherine. So many great things in this episode. One of the things I really loved that Catherine spoke about was for designers to not undersell their skills and to value what you bring to the table. I see this so often with designers, and not just new designers, people that have been in the industry for a long time and still haven't got this right. And I understand why they do it. Sometimes it's about being scared that there's not going to be another project coming through the door, or if things have been quiet, or it might be that they're lacking in confidence. But as Catherine mentioned, people generally always talk to a couple of designers and they will see a variation in fees. If you are charging too low because you are doubting yourself or you want to win the work, you are hurting the whole industry. On a lot of the episodes where I've spoken to senior designers, they all talk about how we need to educate our clients and future clients about what we bring to the table and how we fit into a project team. And this ties into how much we charge. It is hard to get it right, but it is really important for our industry. As Catherine mentioned, if you are not sure, reach out to another designer. And you know what? Some of them might say no, but some of them will share their knowledge or reach out to me. I'm happy to chat about what the range of fees would be. So I hope you enjoyed this dialogue with Catherine, and I will see you next week for our next design dialogue. It is usually around this time of the year that we all start to think about what we are doing in our businesses, and maybe some things we might like to do a little differently. I am sure a lot of you who are listening are currently trying to wrap up projects before the end of the year, and so thinking about a new software platform is at the bottom of the to-do list. However, if you can spare a few minutes, the team and I would love to show you how more time to design can transform your business and mean that 2024 is your best year in business, both from a project perspective, but most importantly, financially. For everyone who books in a demonstration before the end of 2023, we will extend the free trial period so that even if you are madly wrapping up projects, you will still have plenty of time to become familiar with more time to design and be ready to start 2024 with a bang. I will pop the link to book in a demonstration in the show notes. Thank you for listening to this design dialogue. I hope you have found it full of inspiration and helpful information to take into your design studio. If you like the podcast and want to hear more, consider sharing it or writing a review, as it helps us reach more people, and follow us wherever you get your podcasts. If you would like to unlock the power of effortless studio management and elevate your design business to new heights, please follow the links in our show notes to see how more time to design can help you build a better business. Have a great week, and I will see you for our next design dialogue.